Okay, so our quiz is going to be over adjectives, but in order to be able to do adjectives, we need to know a couple of things about nouns, and then we're going to apply that knowledge. If you recall, Latin nouns fall into 3 categories called declensions, and that just means like what's the vowel that this noun either ends in or uses as its ending. Like if it gets an A before the M in the accusative case, or a U before the M, or an E before the M. If it's, when it's in the accusative case, when it's the direct object, for example. So puella, when she's the direct object, is puellam, and she gets all these other endings. And lupus, when he's the direct object, gets a and all these other endings. And mater, when she's the direct object, is matrem. But we could also see her in all of these other cases. And then our neuter endings are in gray on this chart. It is really important that we know these endings, not just for our adjectives quiz, but for our success in Latin 2 and 3 and moving on from there. And so definitely spend some time reminding yourself by chanting I, arm, is, as, is, or us, e, o, e, orm, is, os, is. Third declension we also have to know, it's a little bit trickier, but I just typically say blank, is, es, ibis, es, ibis. These 2 are the most important for our adjective quiz, but we also need to know third. And then, of course, our second neuters go e, o, orm, is, is. And a noun, when you look it up in the dictionary, it tells you what declension it is by showing you the nominative and the genitive ending. And the dictionary will also give you the gender of any noun, because nouns also have gender. And so you look up puella, meaning girl, of course it's feminine, but it'll tell you anyway. And it confirms it's puella, puellae, so you know it's first. If you look up lupus, the dictionary says, which means wolf, the dictionary says lupus, lupi, and it tells you that it's masculine. And that's showing you with the us-e that it's second declension. If you look up soxum, the word for rock, it tells you that it's e, and so also second declension because of that long I, but neuter. If you look up the word for time, it'll tell you that it's tempus temporis, so I see that it's third. I might have thought at first that it was second declension, but the oris shows me that it's third declension, and the dictionary tells me that it's neuter, so it's actually tempus temporis using those neuter endings. But if I look up mater, I see that is as well, so I know mater matris is third declension, and she's feminine. And then here's a fun one. If I look up the word for farmer, I get agricola, agricolae. So I'm like, okay, that's first declension. Most first declension nouns are feminine, but that one happens to be masculine. And any of these nouns, any noun in the world, can be described by an adjective. And when I'm using an adjective, I could describe a girl as happy, a wolf as happy. I could say it's a happy time using the word happy in Latin, which is laetus. But adjectives are given with typically 3 forms, showing you that if you want to describe a masculine noun, you need to use us and all the other endings. If you're describing a feminine noun, you need to use and all the other endings. And if you're describing a neuter noun, you need to use and all the other endings. So these adjectives are called typically 2, 1, 2 adjectives, meaning that we're using second declension us endings to describe masculine nouns, first declension feminine endings to describe, first declension endings to describe feminine nouns, and second declension neuter endings to describe neuter nouns. So some books also call them first/second declension adjectives, but all it means is that we're borrowing endings from the second for us, from the first for and from the second again for endings. And so mater, I don't care what declension she is, I just care that she's feminine, so she's going to be laeta. Whereas in agricola, I don't care what declension he is, I care that he's masculine, he's going to be laetus. And a rock is going to be laetum soxum, but also time is also neuter, so I would have laetum tempus. Adjectives are any descriptor to go with a noun. So happy, sad, big, small, angry. They usually tell us what kind. Numbers also tell us, are also adjectives. So like 3 boys, 3 is an adjective. And colors are adjectives too. So like a red table or a red book. So adjectives need to have 3 different forms. 1 to describe a masculine noun, 1 to describe a feminine noun, and another form to describe neuter nouns. But we're not just using us, and we're going to take us and like make it whatever case our noun is as well. So that's what we were practicing with last week, and that was what's here. And so anytime I have a noun, and in this one we were using the word happy, I need to be like, okay, if I see the girls, we know that's I see, and girls is the direct object. We know that girls is feminine, or we could look it up just to be sure. Number just means singular or plural, and with that as ending, I could refer back to my chart if I need, but I should recognize that that's not only plural, but it's also accusative case. But again, I can use my chart if I need to. Puellas, accusative plural, because it's the direct object of the sentence, and direct objects are in the accusative case. And then with that information, I go to the feminine form of leitus, which is leita, and I make it accusative plural as well. So I go to leita, and again, if I need the chart, I pull it up, but it's also going to change to an as ending. Puellas, leitas. And so a lot of the time, an adjective gets the exact same ending as the noun it's describing. But as we move on, we'll see that that's not always the case. When in doubt, it's a good practice. Like if I were just guessing, or if I didn't know, I would make my next adjective match Faustus. And that actually is correct. But the true process is that Faustus is masculine, he's singular, and here with the us ending, or simply because he's the subject of the sentence, he's in the nominative case. And so I took leitus, the masculine version of the adjective, and I made sure that that's the nominative singular ending. And so it does end up looking just like Faustus. Insula, same thing. It's feminine, it's singular. If I need the chart, I can look, but it's ablative. And when I take the feminine leita and make it ablative, it gets that long A as well. In insula leita, I sleep in a happy apartment building. Pueros they're masculine. And if I need the chart, I find out that they are plural and accusative. But also videmus tells me that that's my subject, we see. And so the boys are probably the direct object, and that's why they're accusative. But if I needed the chart, I could confirm that they are accusative plural. They are masculine, and I would do the same with the adjective. I would take leitus, and I would look and see in the chart that the accusative plural ending is leitos. And so for these first four, or most of the time, you see that the adjective gets the exact same ending as the noun, until we come to imperator, which actually doesn't have an ending on it at all. That's our word for emperor. With the verb est and without an ending on it, it must be the subject. So it's nominative, singular, and the emperor is masculine. And I could look it up in a dictionary and it would tell me that it's imperator, imperatoris, masculine. No ending in the nominative case because it's third declension. But my adjective's not using these endings. It's not using third declension endings. My adjective is using us, or So imperator being nominative, singular, masculine, I'm going to go to the masculine form leitus, and that is the nominative singular. So I get leitus. It does not have the same ending like we did for the first four here, but they do match in gender, number, and case. Adjectives match their noun in gender, number, and case, not necessarily by having the same ending. But a lot of the time we do get the same ending. Let's try another one. Imperator again. Well, he's still masculine and singular. At least in this sentence, he's singular. He's always masculine. And with that M ending, he's accusative because, again, he's the direct object. My subject, wides, is you. Do you see the emperor? So, of course, he's the direct object. He's accusative. He's masculine and singular. So I take leitus, that's what he was in the nominative, a leitus imperator. But in the accusative case, leitus becomes leitum. So different endings, similar. And I just have to ask myself, well, are they the same gender? Yeah, masculine, masculine. Number, singular, singular, and case, accusative, accusative. So I have matched it in gender, number, and case, even though it doesn't get exactly the same ending. Same for herbibus. I should recognize ibus as a plural ablative or dative ending, but with the word in takes the ablative. I might have to look up herbs in the dictionary. It is feminine. I remember that because Roma is a city. Urps means city. Roma is a city, and Roma is feminine. So the word for city is feminine. After the word in, it's ablative. Ibis is plural and feminine. So I'm going to take Laita and look at its chart, and the ablative plural, I, arm, is, as, it's is. So I get Laitis. Not the same ending, is and ibis, but they are the same gender, number, and case. Wenum, I probably know, is neuter because it's always wenum. That makes it singular, and it could be the subject because could be nominative or it could be accusative. But if I see bibis, that means you drink, and so it's got to be the direct object, making it accusative. Either way, I'm going to actually get the same answer because Laitum is the neuter form, and it's going to be and whether it's nominative or accusative. So there we are, same ending again, same gender, number, case. This is a little harder. I gave food, that's got to be to the dog, and if I know dog, I know its third declension blank is e. E makes it dative, so Connie, to the dog, dative, singular, dog is masculine, and I'm going to take Laitus, us, e, dative, case is o. Not the same ending, but same gender, number, and case. I took Laitus and went us, e, o for dative. Operari is looks like a similar sentence. I have a gift, just like I gave food to him. I have a gift for them, so that looks dative as well. Is is a dative plural ending, and operarius, a workman or the workmen, plural, is masculine. So they are masculine, plural, and dative. So I take Laitus, us, e, o, e, orum. It's also going to be is. So most of the time, my adjective gets the same exact ending as the noun. That really only works if my noun is a first or second declension noun, is a us or a or noun, and it's when I have a third declension noun that it didn't match. Mater's third declension too. She's feminine, she's singular, she's nominative here with the verb est, she's the subject, and so I get Laita. It doesn't match because she's third, but we're still the same gender, number, case. Pontem looks pretty singular, pretty accusative. I do need to know its gender. I would look that up in the dictionary, and then I would give the corresponding form. Same for amici. I need to figure out, what case it is in this sentence. AE is a little ambiguous, could be genitive, could be dative, singular, could be nominative, plural. So I'm going to want to read the whole sentence to figure that out. Mercatori, I know mercator, it's like imperator. I'm going to look at my chart and be like, oh, it's that. I'm going to give the gender, number, and case, and then the corresponding form of the adjective. And then we did a little bit more practice in class. A lot of these are filled in, and I'm going to leave them that way so that you can still practice some on your own. But same idea here, except with a different adjective. Instead of using Laitus we were practicing with parvus and so we figured out the gender, number, and case of the noun and gave the corresponding form of this adjective. Could be any adjective on your quiz. I could give you frigidus, collidus, sordidus, clamosus perteritus but it's the same exact process. We figure out what gender, number, and case, like, ooh, pater, that looks third declension. So I need to, he's got no ending. So I'm going to figure out what case and number he is. I should know his gender, but I could look it up and then give the corresponding form of the masculine. We also have some full sentences. Because always we should be able to write at the sentence level, including sentences with adjectives. And so we did an example here. We were watching, that's my subject and verb. So I got my subject ending on my imperfect tense verb, spektabamus, for we were watching. And the quiet horses are the direct object. So I make horses accusative. It's also plural, of course. I took equus and made it equos. And then I made the adjective quietus the same gender, number, and case. You will have a picture to write about. I'd like to see adjectives in your writing, like in these instructions, and then you've got a sample passage or like a sample answer. Of course, there's no one correct answer in this section, but I want to see things like he's a big dog, he's a red dog, he lives in a big city, he's holding a dirty sewer cover or something like that. So it'll be a picture where there's opportunities to use adjectives. And that's it. All right, case number and gender on the noun. Most of the time it's the same ending, but not always.